welcome to the arena on KAFTAN TV, Abuja. My name is Pius, Awunah. I'll be your host. Today's edition of the program will be looking at the domestic violence and the way forward. The issue of domestic violence is becoming something that is, let me say, is becoming unbecoming. A lot of people have been victims, and a lot of people are still going to be victims. And there's need to look at this and discuss the way forward. And I have with me in the studio a lawyer, so that we can look at this together. But before then, we'll go on break. After the break, then we'll get back and discuss more about domestic violence, and you get to know other angles of domestic violence aside the one you know. And stay close to your TV set. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back from the break. Don't forget, this is the arena on KAFTAN TV, Abuja. And in today's edition of the program, we're looking at domestic violence. This has affected many people. A lot of people have been victims. We still have people who are currently suffering this. And we decide to look at it and discuss how the way forward. Look at other angles of domestic violence, because many people, when you talk about domestic violence, they look at it as in the area of only when there is a fight, when the other partner hits the other partner, and they don't know that there's more to know about domestic violence aside that. And then we are aware of the recent incident where a popular gospel singer died, and there have been allegations that she died of domestic violence. We are talking about Osinachi Nwachukwu. Many people have accused the husband, Peter Nwachukwu, of being responsible for her death. The stories are different from, different people talking about the reason why she is no more. That some even accuse the church. Why could the church be accommodating somebody who is a pastor that is abusing the wife constantly? And a lot of explanations. The pastor of the church, Pastor Dr. Paul Eneche, came in to state his own side of the story of what he knows about the death of the singer Nwachukwu, Osinachi Nwachukwu. And then we'll be looking at that another event as we look at this domestic violence. But with me in the studio, as I said earlier, is a lawyer. We popularly know lawyers here as barristers. And I have a barrister with me in the studio that will be looking at this together. Her name is Hajarah Baba. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
I will still want you to introduce yourself. Who am I with here in the studio?
Okay, my name is Barrister Hajarah Baba Ajanah.
Very good. And welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
We are looking at domestic violence. It's an issue that has been disturbing the society.
Yes,
a lot of people have been victims, and currently, as we are talking, there are other people that are suffering from this.
Yes.
The recent case we recorded so far is that of Osinachi Nwachukwu,
yes,
who died recently at the National Hospital, and many people have accused the husband of being responsible for her death. In fact, to the point that they have to do autopsy. And the result is out, but the hospital refused to disclose the result to the public, that they will hand over the result to the police. And a lot of people were interviewed because of this, to hear their side of the story regarding the death of the singer.
Yes.
I believe you are aware of the story too. I want us to look at that issue first before we dive into the topic proper.
All right.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, you said this woman was said to have, the husband of this woman was said to have allegedly beaten her to death,
yes,
or was constantly beating her until it got to the last one. She couldn't take it again, and then she died in the process. Or maybe she died when she was rushed to the hospital.
Yes.
She was confirmed dead. And some people are saying that her husband has twin sister?
Yes. Her twin sister was the first person that came out to say her sister didn't die of, initially some media houses reported that she died of throat cancer. And then the sister came out to rebuke that, and no, my sister didn't die of throat cancer. She died as a result of domestic violence. And the incident that led to her death, according to the twin sister,
yes,
which is Favor made. Favor said that the husband hit her on the chest and she fell down. and he rushed her to the hospital. All this thing was happening. The family of the late Osinachi was not aware. So they rushed her to the hospital, and then that was when she died. And there's some media houses carried the story as a throat cancer.
You know, we are not a member of the family. We don't know what has been going on in the family. Whether the husband was constantly abusing her or not, it's not even the issue at stake now. But the fact that she died as a result of the husband beating her. The previous beatings may not have resulted into any known injury or harm or her being admitted in the hospital, you know. But this time around, she was rushed to the hospital because her husband beat her to a pulp, and she was rushed to the hospital. And the sisters, the deceased sister came out to say that her husband she died as a result of the beating she received from her husband. Yeah. Now, let's look at this. Was there any reported case of him beating her before now? Has the sister ever voiced out that my sister is going through a lot of torture in the hands of her husband? There was no case like that. We are not here to make a case for Osinachi's husband, you know, but we are here to look at domestic violence generally. We cannot say anything right now because even the autopsy result is not for public consumption. So we have to be very careful whatever we are going to say about the case. And you know that this is involving a church. So I'll be jumping the gun if I have to delve into this area. We just have to look at what is this thing called domestic violence first. Then we can now bring examples. But if we want to start analyzing this case, it might be it will now start looking like we are advocating for Osinachi or her husband. We are trying to make a case for her husband.
I understand what you are saying very well. And you know, is just one of the examples of when you are to look at this domestic violence. It's one of the issues you would like to feature.
Yes.
And that is why I brought that issue. Yes. And aside that, there are other issues.
Several cases. Yes.
You remember the case of Miriam Sanda, who stabbed her husband to death.
A very popular
one. To the point
one.
that's a very good. The Federal High Court in Abuja sentenced her to death, by hanging.
Yes.
Then there is another issue. And then we remember another case of Ochanya in Benue State.
Yes.
Where
yes.
the husband was, her auntie's husband was, sleeping with her, and then the son was doing the same thing. And then the lady, eventually she died as a result of the complication. So a lot of issues. Now, I was going through different, publications, stories about domestic violence, and I've seen that what many people know as domestic violence is more than what people have already, what they have already aware of. This is what is domestic violence. There is more to it. Yes. Because many people, when you talk about domestic violence, they look at it in the angle of only when there is a fight, people are involved, hitting and all that. But from the research, I've seen that there are a lot of things we need to know about domestic violence. So I would like to ask you, from your own point of view, what is domestic violence?
Well, thank you. I would say domestic violence is a pattern of behavioral abuse, something that is constantly carried out by one partner on another to gain power or maintain control over his spouse. It's common among spouses in marriages, but it happens in any kind of relationship at all. A boy-girl relationship, family members, it can be found anywhere at all. It's not necessarily among couples. So, yes. And then when you talk about domestic violence, people that are caught in this kind of habits may not even be aware that they are prone, they have such kind of behavior. Something must have triggered it, you understand? And then another thing is the receiver at times becomes the victim because of the way they go about receiving it. The recipient at times becomes the culprit because they are not voicing out. They don't come out to say, I am going through this. Most people don't even come out to say what they are going through. imagine in some marriages, they just come out with a swollen face and you ask them, what happened to your face? They will tell you, oh, I was trying to switch on the light when there was no light, and then I hit my head on the wall. Meanwhile, it was beating. It was as a result of the beating she received. Then now look at the man's angle. If a woman cannot easily come out to say, I was beaten by my husband, how much more a man coming out to say that my wife hit me with something? You know, it's a very difficult situation. Yes. Like men have been clamoring that every time they talk about emotional abuse, and they are always looking at men as the guilty ones. That what about the men? Why are we not talking about men too? Well, to be factual, I would not say from my own point of view. Sincerely, women go through a lot of this in the hands of their male partners. Yes. You understand? It is common with the females than the men. It's not possible for you to see in every 100, for example, you will see like it's 70-30 or 80-20. Like the 80 is for the women, and then the 20, not even up to 20. In most cases, men are more powerful than women. It's not possible for a woman to beat up even your own child at a point. It's just the respect he has for you. If he wants to beat you up, he'll beat you up. That is the structure of a man. At a point, they are stronger than women. So in most cases, when a woman becomes the dangerous one, it may be as a result of keeping calm for too long instead of finding somebody to talk with. So emotional violence, is a diverse topic that cannot even be exhausted today. It's in every area. It's in every corners of our life today, especially in our society today. Every day, almost every day, you hear of domestic violence. Yes. Domestic violence every day. Some don't even make it to the public, you know. It's only the ones that you hear about. Some don't even make it to the social media. Yeah,
you know, when it comes to women, they are always saying they want to protect their marriage, they want to...
exactly.
You know, if they say this, their marriage will no longer be there. A lot of things, excuses,
a lot of
why
things.
They don't want to voice this out for other people to know what they are going through.
Yes.
Yeah, we are being very sensitive here. You see, the topic is domestic violence. It's not the domestic violence against women or men.
Yes.
So we make it general. So that somebody should not say we're taking side with women against men, or taking side with men against men. So,
yes.
And that is why from the beginning I cited the incident, which is that of Mary and Sanda.
Okay.
Yes, she was a woman. She stabbed her husband to death. You see? Yes. So a lot of men too are also victims of this domestic violence. So it's not only women that are victims. Men are victims. Kids are victims.
Kids, yes.
You see how some parents, they treat their children, you'll be surprised. Why? So there are a lot to
domestic violence of any kind.
So now what I want from you, aside this physical abuse, what other things that can be considered as domestic violence? Okay.
I want to start by way of analyzing the situation. Yes. Because you see, some men, they don't even know how to beat a woman. They have never raised up their hands to hit a woman before. But the woman is going through a lot of emotional torture from them. It varies. I cannot start painting the scenario. But then, for example, a man is never seen at home. Yes. The woman is always complaining, you are not around. I don't see my husband and all that, you understand? That woman is already emotionally scattered because you didn't marry for the purpose of staying alone. You marry because you want to cohabit with a man. But this man is never around. Some men are even very caring. When it comes to very caring, they can even drop food for you, drop money. They can even give you all the things you want in the world, but their presence is never seen. You understand?
And that can be considered domestic violence too?
Yes, because the woman is gradually falling into a kind of depression. She doesn't see her husband. She's always complaining. There are cases like that. But they don't, and they will not, if they are in the midst of people talking about their husband, oh, my husband came home, and she will just smile if she doesn't want to lie. She will not talk about it. But sometimes you have to talk about it. So majorly, it's about someone doing a certain thing to you that you don't really like, but you can't even change the situation. And what does it do to you? It depresses the victim. And some people can even suddenly they will start having BP. BP will result to stroke. Some is as a result of built-in emotions. They cannot voice out. They don't even want to voice out. Where would you go to say that? Then some, they might even see it as trivial. Something is disturbing somebody, and then you are telling her that it's very trivial. But there are certain things they don't even want to say out loudly. So apart from a partner always battering a wife, and it could, apart from what I have just analyzed, it could also be as a result of poverty. Poverty could cause domestic violence too, you understand? When there's no money, loss of job or unemployment, the man wants to be that man in the home, but he doesn't have money to show that I'm a man. And in most cases, if you don't have money, you don't have sense. And he doesn't, the man might not even know how to go about it, to like talk to the partner. We are going through this now, don't worry. But the kind of things that will come out of his mouth is the one that will trigger the wife's anger, you understand? So poverty could go a long way to cause emotional violence too. And then some men, they are very calm. Even people from around them know them as a very calm and patient man, but at home they are something else. It could be as a result of maybe they are under the influence of drugs, narcotics, alcohol. You know, some people are on drugs, but nobody knows around them. Yes. It's only when they go, certain things might trigger, any little thing might trigger it, and then they start misbehaving. And that can lead to another thing. Then excessive jealousy. They are in love with each other, especially with young couples that just got married. Yes. You want your partner's attention, you want this, you want that, all of it. So then infidelity. Some men don't even cheat at all, but then it could still lead to emotional violence because they don't stay at home. Some men are they are serial cheaters. They are always cheating, and the wife has been condoning it, and then if you say a word, is slap. I
don't want to take side with men here because I'm a man.
Yes.
But I would like to ask you a question.
Yes.
From where you said some men stay away instead of coming home to meet with their wives and all that. Don't you think some men purposely stay outside to avoid maybe coming home to have issue with their wife? You know, some women, when you are at home with them, some men complain, they hardly rest, being nagging from one point to another, complaining all this and that. So some men look at it that if they stay outside, all these issues, it may not come up because they believe if they are around and this kind of thing is happening, they may end up slapping the wife up. It will end up being a fight. But if they stay outside and they come only when they are to sleep, and that can really save a lot of drama. Don't you think?
Yes, you are it's 100%. You are very, very correct. Yes. But most women, we women, we talk while the men give the actions. They will not even say a word. They might not even say a word to you, but you must have talked 20. But the thing, what they did that led you to say all sorts, like you earlier said, I don't want it to look like we are here to take side with a man or a woman. We just want to look at domestic violence holistically. But then you cannot shy away from some of these things that we are chipping in, you understand? Because a woman, in most cases, women generally are considered to be, they nag easily. And that is why I always tell people this thing that I read, when I read a book, The Godfather. There's a particular line he said I see in my head so many years ago when I was in the university. He said, there's nothing I find so little to my taste like pettiness. Women and children can afford to, not men. Yes. You understand? I think he said carelessness and then pettiness along the line. Women can decide, you can excuse a woman when a woman is being petty, but not when a man is being petty. And then, God forbid you marry a kind of woman that is never giving you that enabling environment, you understand? But in most cases, as a man, that's why you should be able to handle a kind of situation, because you cannot always walk away. It's just like a man that the house is on fire and then you go and say, when the fire has calmed down, you will not come I will not come back.
So who should quench the fire?
Who is going to quench the fire? All your property must have been must have been burnt, and then there will be nothing.
Yes.
So as you went away thinking that this woman will calm down, and then she's still ready for you when you come back, for God's sake, when are you going to have this peace? So in essence, we are still talking about domestic violence. It has resulted to the man may come back and say, can't I stay in my house again? And before you know it, he will hit the woman. And then some women may not fight back, but if you fight back, it gets serious. And if you don't fight back at times, you might hit a woman that is already tensed, and you just hit her. Anything can happen, you understand? So it's just to avoid, just try to create an enabling ground in your home, so that there will not be it will not get to that level that you have to hit. You know, where you hit somebody and nothing happened, nobody hears it. If Osinachi had not died, or she had not been rushed to the hospital, nobody will hear about the case.
Yeah.
The battery will continue. What led to the battery? Nobody knows. We are just talking now. What made her husband to hit her? We did not know. Was it actually as a result of the hit she received, the beating she received from her husband? We do not know.
According to the twin sister, and let me tell you more about this. It's very unfortunate, as we said earlier, that some people go through this and they don't want to voice out.
Never.
Because, especially women, because they want to protect their marriage.
Yes.
You know, to a point, according to the mother of this, the late singer, Osinachi Wanchuku, the mother, Mrs. Madu,
Yes.
she said at a point her daughter left home, and for almost a year she stayed
away from her matrimonial home
in the husband's home because of this issue of domestic violence. But the husband went with some pastors to beg her to come back home. So probably, even though she was not voicing out, but she was able to take action, and that was why the action that led to her leaving the house for almost a year. So the husband had to go with some pastors to beg her to come home. And then she came home, and
let me cut you right there before I forget this thing.
Yes.
You see, let us avert our mind to the fact that some men can't even help themselves. He's in love with the wife, but he cannot stop beating her.
Yes.
That's the way he was grown, maybe. You understand? And that is why we have to, I was going to wait until we discuss the measures to take. When we get to how the measures to take in order to avoid domestic violence,
Yes.
we have to start from the grassroots. Start from when the child is small.
Yes.
When you see a child throwing tantrums unnecessarily, you just allow the child to be. You heard, I don't know if you can remember a case of a child that was taken to a store, and he pointed at something and he couldn't get it, and he started throwing away.
Yes, very good.
Do you think such a child can, such a child will grow up to be such a man, that a woman hitter?
Yeah, that is if he's not controlled.
If he's not controlled,
yes.
But you have to control these things right from the onset. You don't get to a part, like people say that when girls are growing up, you start counseling them, don't do this with a man, don't do this, don't do that, and then when you are menstruating, this is how to go. That nobody ever talk to men, talk to boys on how to treat a woman. Start talking to your male children on how to treat, how to love, how to grow up a responsible man.
Yes.
You understand? You don't, because this thing has, if you trace the history of some people, it goes way back. It's not something you can imagine somebody going to beg his wife to come back, and then she came back and then still beat her to that point again. So I'm not going to say much because I don't want it to look like I'm insulting this person. I still want to mince my words against all odds. It's a very annoying situation, you understand, but then I think some men can't help themselves, and so unfortunately our government don't have measures put in place to help such people in Nigeria or even in Africa. I don't know. Are there measures to help such people? If you know your husband is involved, or your family or your friend is involved in such kind of behavior, you can talk to them. Take them to a psychologist that could counsel them, and eventually they may gradually, it will reduce. It could reduce to the barest minimum, or even stop completely. Because two categories of people cannot change: fools and dead people. He's still living. He may, but now it's gotten to a point that somebody has died in the process.
Yes.
And you know the consequences
Well, you know let me bring this issue. I've seen situations where parents, in the name of training, in the name of discipline, maybe when a child commits, they will like, you're not going to eat food today. Especially if you go to our villages, these things are common there. These things are common. When the child commits, they won't give you food to eat, maybe for some hours before the night, so that it's a part of the, discipline, so that next time you shouldn't repeat that. Can you see that as a domestic violence?
Well, everything has degree,
Yes.
level. It depends on, even the scriptures, both in the Bible and in the Quran, says we should apply moderation in everything that we do. It depends on how long you stretch it. Like, I don't know how to punish a child with food like you know it today. Personally, I can't even do it. The food is there, you can always, but there are so many ways you can do it, because if somebody can be starved to death. That's why I said it depends on the degree.
Yes.
And it depends on the age we are talking about. You have a child in the house or a house help, she doesn't have any other way to eat but in the house, and you are starving the child. What if he faints and then he died in the process? So you cannot say you are, so it can also be considered. That's why I say it depends on the degree. For how many days, for how many hours, for how long are you going to starve somebody? You understand? So if I deny, for example, I deny somebody morning food, and it depends on the age of the child too. Because you cannot say you are an adult, you can cook. I didn't stop you from cooking, and you say I denied you food. It cannot, it's not as if I said don't enter my kitchen to cook, or if not I'll beat you today. If, for example, I have a 19-year-old girl in the house, and I'm saying I will starve. You cannot use that word. But when you have somebody a helpless person, like you have a child of 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and then you are starving the child, that is, of course, it's domestic violence. It should be considered as a form of domestic violence too. So I cannot answer it straight off like that. It depends on who we are talking about, the age, and then the degree. You understand? So I think it's valid. It's good. It can be considered a domestic violence, but it depends.
Okay. There's this issue that is very common among the married people. You see, when there's a misunderstanding in the house between the husband and the wife, the wife always the kind of not submitting to their husband at night. Can that situation be regarded as a domestic violence too?
Well, I don't want to say yes, and I don't want to say no, because of my
yeah, from any angle you want to look at
yes,
it,
from any angle. I don't want to say, I want to say no, because I remember when I was in 300 level, I always like making reference to, because I hardly forget things.
Yes.
My lecturer said one thing that we're doing where it was where he was lecturing us on a particular topic, rape.
Yes.
And then he asked if a man, like in Nigeria today, in Africa, can a woman accuse her husband of rape? Of course, yes, if you want to look at it very well.
Yes.
But a man, the man is your husband. He has a right to have conjugal relationship with you. But then you are denying him sex. And then you did it once, twice, like almost all the time like that. And then until this other person becomes angry. Because you cannot say that a man can be starved of sex to the point that he will now kill himself. No. I don't think that could happen. The only thing that could happen is it could trigger his own anger, and then he forcefully have his way without your will and without your consent, you understand? But then in another, like my lecturer told us then, that in Islamic religion, refusal alone, it's even a sin. You can't refuse your husband sex. Or if you do, the angels of God will curse you throughout the period of refusal. So I laughed over it then.
Yes.
But then that was what he said then. We are not having a religious topic here. I just want to.
Yes, it's good
I just want to use it to buttress our points.
So that is not domestic violence.
Not in it. It could be.
It could be.
It could be. Yes, it could be, because it could push this other person forcefully
react. Yes, and in a negative way.
In a negative way,
Yeah.
yes. And then you start struggling, and in the process anything can happen. Oh, I don't want you to have your way. Why are you forcing me? There's something there, a bottle there, and then she just take it, and it could also lead to that, you understand?
Yes.
And then this other person trying to force his way to may in the process injure his wife too, you understand? So yes, it's a form of domestic violence. We can let's agree that it could be.
Okay, it could be. And yes, there is more to discuss about domestic violence. In fact, it's a very wide topic.
We can't exhaust
but
it.
we'll bring in some issues that we believe people will learn, because lots of people believe that domestic violence is only when there is a fight between husband and wife. In fact, when they're even talking about domestic violence, they're only looking at it between husband and wife. Many people, they don't know that you could that
even that's why we said too. Any kind of relationship.
Yes.
It could even be in the hostel.
Yes.
Roommates, between roommates, it could happen.
Yes.
Yes.
And the children among themselves.
Yes.
And all that. Now, I came across something very funny. It is kind of a culture of these particular people. They believe, you know, that in order to train their wives or their women generally, that will be very strong, that a man cannot just get them, take advantage of them or rape them. So by training them, you know, there is a culture that they believe that culture, practicing that culture in that way can help to train their women. So now this culture, before, even as a married woman, before you could submit to your husband at night, your husband has to beat you in the daytime. Yes, your husband has to beat you in the daytime before you can submit to your husband at night. And then for them, they believe that, and even at that,
that is for the woman's culture, both
their culture among themselves, their culture, not the woman. They might, you know, within a particular ethnic group.
Yes.
So even like that, even at night, the husband cannot just, you cannot just, you know, accept the husband like that. The husband have to struggle with you too, before the wife can finally allow him to have his way. And why? Because of the fact that they believe if their women are like that, someone cannot just get them.
Funny.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So, and I want us to look at that, being a culture that people are practicing, if that could be a domestic violence too. But before we come to that, I want us to go on a break, and then we'll come back, we'll continue the discussion. Thank you very much for watching. We are still discussing domestic violence, and we're going on a break now. After the break, we'll look at other issues that could be or should be considered as domestic violence, aside the normal issues you know as domestic violence. And don't go anywhere. Stay close to your TV set, and we'll be back to discuss more about domestic violence. Welcome back from the break. This is the Arena on KAFTAN TV, and my name is Pius Awunah. We have been discussing domestic violence and the way forward. And with me in the studio is Hajarah. She is a lawyer, and we have been looking at other issues of domestic violence, and we believe you are picking one or two things and you are learning from that. Now we are back from the break. We want to look at more about domestic violence. Thank God you are still here. I came across this.
Yes.
Let's go through it. A graduate of University of Nigeria, Soka, is a law graduate. He was angry about something. Let me go through this. A University of Nigeria Soka law graduate, Nana Emeka, said under Section 55D of the Nigeria Penal Code of couples that are subject to customary law, husbands has the right to correct the wrongdoing of his wife by beating. That means the customary law permits that a husband can actually correct the wrongdoing of his wife through beating. But the beating should not be in such a way that it will lead to taking the wife to the hospital for treatment. It should just be in form of, you know, discipline my wife because she have done this and that. And it is in Nigeria customary law.
Okay.
Do you agree with that first, being a lawyer?
First, you said a lawyer said so.
Yes.
So I want to cover allow me to cover my face in shame.
Okay.
I don't know how on earth a lawyer would come out to say that kind of thing, because there are some laws that are repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, and there are some laws that there are some customary laws that are no longer, it's no longer obtainable.
Yes.
Even if it was happening then, for crying out loud, we are at this age and time, how would, and that customary law cannot stand the test of time, and it cannot stand the test of any law. And in the Nigeria Constitution, that is our ground norm. I don't want to misquote, but I don't know anywhere that will allow such kind of custom to prevail over the Constitution.
But it is, according to you, and this
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so if you beat your wife, you will because of that you will. It is
you can use that as an excuse.
No, then you go if you are arrested, you go before the court and said, in my custom, I'm allowed to beat my wife to you. It depends. Like I told you, some of these things don't even make it to the social media. You understand? It's as a result of all this social platform that we have now that we hear these things easily. These things have been going on for ages. Domestic violence. It's not just now that we are women or people experience.
There's more about this, but we'll come back to it. Remember, before going on break, I brought the issue of the kind of culture that people practice, and a particular ethnic group, where they believe that beating their wives before they are getting them to submit to their husband at night.
Okay, you see, yes, you said so.
Yes,
this is the only way I can answer that question. If you are from that tribe, we grew up that way. That's our tribe. That's what we know. That's what we do. And we have submitted to that culture. We both have submitted, because they said, volenti non fit injuria. If you bring yourself to a hut, you cannot complain afterwards. This is the culture. This is what they do. And you agreed. You saw it that this is what they do. You have agreed and you have walked into it. So you bear it. It may not be, but then it's a question. Let's make it a topic for another, because I don't know how in the process, if in the process of doing that you kill somebody and then you'll be told you go scot-free.
Doing that alone, is that not domestic violence? That is where I'm looking at.
It is, but it according to him, is a legalized form of practice in their own society, that they lie in their own culture. That's what they do. It's a prerequisite. Before you sleep with your wife, she must be beaten first.
Yes.
But the man shouldn't be beaten. It's the woman that should be beaten.
Yeah.
You see, it has taken us back to the point I've been trying to make. Why not vice versa? Today I beat you, tomorrow. Today let it be the turn of the woman to also beat the man before you can sleep with the woman too. Not that she should be the one receiving the treatment, the beating every day. It's very barbaric. I don't think that will hold water.
Yeah, some of these cultures are not really, because of the civilization, and let me say the religion that many people have embraced now. So they don't really practice these things. But you see, in some cases, you still see these things happening, and especially those who are not civilized. You can agree with me that in Nigerian society today, not everybody that is educated. And then you go to, especially to people who are not civilized, you see them doing all these things. There are a lot of things happening that people need to be educated. People need to be enlightened so that they will know that, look, this thing you are doing. There are things some of us we do too when we are growing up. When we're at the level of primary, secondary school, we got to university before our eyes begin to open to see things that nobody even advised us, but we dropped those things. We don't know, this is not good.
Exposure.
So people need to be enlightened. People need to, to be educated on, things they need to know. And that can also help a lot, as you were answering one of the questions regarding the domestic violence. From the beginning, a child is not behaving well. It should be disciplined at that point. Not to allow a child to grow up with such kind of behavior. And then that will become something else in the society.
Yes.
I now want us to look at, actually, what should the victims of domestic violence do? Because we are all aware that, especially women, they don't want to voice this thing out. They look at this as, in fact, first of all, they look at it that by discussing this thing out, they kind of degrading themselves, or they kind of putting their marriage at risk. And maybe making the situation worse. That if my husband get to know this thing, maybe I've been receiving beating once in a day, but that will increase to twice in a day or more. So they don't want to talk about this. They keep, quiet about it, and many of them die in silence. So what should the victims of domestic violence do?
Well, first of all, I would say they should seek help, because talk to somebody. It has to be in stages. Talk to somebody. That's the first thing to do. But God forbid you talk to the wrong person. Because if you talk to the first person, the second person, and they're like, don't worry now, it will stop. Why? Don't go and, do you want to, they make her feel caged, that as if she's trapped there, she cannot get out from that marriage, you understand? And then women should try as much as possible, for example, to have something doing. Because in most cases, they see themselves as their fear of the unknown. They are afraid of moving from that place, because this person supports them a lot economically, gives them economical support, gives them shelter. They don't even know where would you go and start. Where will you start from if you leave such a man?
They don't have parents that they can go back to their homes and continue to live their life.
What if your parents are not well to do? And that's why I said this topic is a very broad one. When you are marrying out your daughter, let her know. Because some people will tell the daughter right there that don't come back to my house, so you have to bear whatever you see there.
Wow.
Do you know? They will tell the daughter, don't think you no longer have a room in my house. But some few parents will tell the man that, see, your room is still intact. But when you say that, they will be like you are encouraging the girl to go and misbehave in her home. But that is not the case. Let them know that I am not selling my daughter out to you. If you are not comfortable, please feel free to come back home. Most men will be more careful. And then, in most cases, it is fear of not having that comfort they had in their home. They don't want to come out of that marriage. And some is out of love. They just love the man sincerely and hoping that someday he would change. But some of them don't even change until it gets very bad. They keep hoping until they will now receive the one that they can't get. They might send them to their early grave.
I know that Nigeria government have some agencies in place.
Yes.
That these issues of domestic violence can equally be reported to them, and the actions will be taken. I know of a human rights commission.
There are so many NGOs like
and
that.
Then
Yes, human rights
we
commission.
have I don't know whether a
Is it
public
now?
complaint commission too can come into an issue like that, to address issue like that, and even the police and the rest.
In most cases, when you report some cases to the police, because when such things happen, what people do is to rush to the police station, and they will treat it as they will tell you to go and resolve it at home now. They will talk to you people there. Say, don't worry now. He will not do it again. Why are you beating your wife now? You too. And it will end there. That's why we need to create that awareness. Government has to create that awareness. When you feel this is where to run to. Even men, like NAPTIP, I think there was a time somebody was telling me of how a woman was trying to drag her husband into, she told all sorts of lies about her husband, things that didn't exist, and they uncovered the truth eventually, you understand? So when you get somebody to talk to, it saves a lot of things, and talking to the right person too is very, very important.
So who are the right people that you can talk to? After looking about the
family members, do you know that some people don't even tell their siblings what they are going through?
Yes.
They won't even tell a good friend. May God surround us with good people.
Yes.
Because I keep saying good, because if you talk to the wrong one, then you have just, it will be from frying pan to fire, you understand? But you have to talk to the right people. Then we don't have psychologists. They can help in that area very well. I don't know of any today that, okay, you go to, I want to see a shrink in Nigeria today. And then even if there are measures put in, and let me tell you, have you observed that these cases of domestic violence is usually from low income or middle class people? Have you observed?
Although it's common
amongst them,
but
yes.
even
But it's very, it's most of the, in most cases,
well, the fact still remains that even the elite, they have their own way of behaving that can be considered as domestic violence too.
Yes, of course,
yes.
We are not ruling them out. I'm just saying
yes.
that it's more prevalent among middle class and low income earners. Yes. So some of them, they are afraid. They don't want to lose. The shifting from their comfort zone. This man will change. What if I'm seen as the bad one? Because let me tell you that some perpetrators of these crimes, they are people you can even vouch for that. You start seeing the wife or husband as very bad. No, this man that is like this man that is like that, you must be the problem.
Yes.
They are scared of voicing out. They don't want to say anything. They are scared of being seen as the problem. Then because some of them, they have been so emotionally battered that they feel there's a lot wrong with them, as if they are actually the problem, and they're actually not the problem. You understand? So you have to, these things cut across all sets of classes.
Yes.
All manner of people. So we have to. The first thing you should do if you're facing that kind of situation is to find somebody to talk to. And funny enough, I don't know why most people, especially religious people that are into religion, I don't know why they don't like voicing out. It's like this Osinachi's husband now. He's a pastor in the church.
Yes.
And then, do you know she will never tell them the degree at which the degree of torture her husband subjects her to.
Unfortunately, let me tell you something. I read a lot about this issue. I'm still reading because I'm very interested.
Yes.
To a point, when there was a time Osinachi was producing, was doing her music in the studio, and her producer was there too. The husband came in there and hit her. That is according to the music producer. Then the producer wanted to react, but Osinachi begged him not to do that.
Okay.
And not to even report to the pastor, that is Dr. Paul Enenche, that please, he should rather pray for the husband to change, that he don't want people to know about it. She
brought it upon herself.
A lot of things.
If you love somebody,
yes,
you don't cover his excesses at times.
You know, all these things.
You want him to change, isn't it?
Yes.
You want to keep managing him. Is he mad? Even doing a recording in the studio, and then
according to Pastor Paul Enenche, because I watched the video, I listened to what he said. He said he called the children and asked I think the eldest one, your mother was going through this, why didn't you tell me? He said the dad was always monitoring us. He don't want us to discuss anything with you like that. That anytime they meet with Pastor Paul Enenche, the dad will ask them, what did you tell the pastor? What did the pastor ask you? All this. So the dad was monitoring them. He don't want them to discuss anything that was happening in the family.
See, it's a behavioral disorder. This man is not all right. And the better, if he doesn't, of course, he will face the consequences of his actions very soon. But then, he should have been helped before now. He got to a very bad stage. He's not, I don't think, going by what you said now, he's not all right. He's obviously not all right. He's not exhibiting the habits of a sensible person now, or a mentally stable person. You know you are doing something wrong, and that is why you see him always going to say, don't. Such people are very intimidating, because they want to keep gain power and control. You understand? And that is the way they think they can gain it. Even the children are involved. Yes. In the process of hitting your wife, you could even hit the children, and it might not even be your wife that will die at the end of the day. Or it could be your children. It could be the emotional violence can cause anything. The wife should have helped him.
Talking about in the process.
That's
of
why I said you
wife,
should talk about it.
Yes, you can even hit the children. I've seen.
Wait, he should have. She didn't help him at all, because
it's very
she should have voiced out.
It's very unfortunate. Now. We don't have enough time to discuss more about this issue. I've seen cases where you see husband and wife fighting, and the children will come, but be begging, daddy, leave mommy, leave mommy. What are you teaching these
children?
They are, as they are growing up, they are watching you beat their mothers. They are watching you maltreat their mothers. So some of them will even learn from that, because if children, they copy everything they see. Whether it is good or bad, they don't know which one is good, they don't know which one is bad. Whatever they see people around them do, that's what they do too.
Exactly.
And then you are doing this thing in the presence of the children. Even when they come holding you to, please, begging you to leave their mommy, you are still beating the mommy. So this is very bad. And then you see, I came across a report in one of the national dailies where this man has been sleeping with his 12 years, yes, is it 12 years or 13 years old daughter, that his wife is no longer attractive to him. So now it is the daughter that is attractive. You see a lot of things happening.
That's why I said some people,
a confirmed report. The man has been arrested by the police.
They need help.
And then it was at the police that even confessed that yes, and he has been doing that for 5 years.
You see, that is why I don't know how we love at times, because when you love somebody, you help the person. And how can you help the person? By talking to the right people. If you notice a kind of trait in your son or your husband, the best thing to do is to talk to the right authority. Even if you have to remind the person.
So now the big question is this: should a woman leave her home, her marriage, because of domestic violence?
Hell yes. 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 Let me nod. Yes.
So that she will not die?
Because you
as
see, we all have our threshold of tolerance. You understand? To the very tolerant ones, I say kudos. You understand? But if you cannot take it, and if you cannot help your partner by talking to him, getting people to talk to him so he could get out of that kind of habit, because some people you cannot change them, they are like that too. And it's unfortunate that they have to leave. Even if you leave that man, another person will marry him, and he will continue, he will not stop. I don't know how I can't analyze it's in my head. I don't even know how to analyze it. If you leave that kind of man, another person will marry him, and he will continue.
Another man poison.
Well, you are right. You are right. He might marry another person and he will change. Maybe that other person was able to help him. This other person was not able. So if he can work out, fine. So maybe he will marry another person that will be able to help him. That other person knows the buttons to touch, how to talk to him. Maybe you couldn't, you were not able to talk to him.
I think that's where the issue of understanding each other in the marriage comes in.
Well, not really understanding. You can understand each other, but then
there will still be.
We are talking about two cases now: a man that cannot change and the one that is ready to change you. We are talking about two cases.
So there are some men that they can't even change no matter what.
Even some women too. There are some people that will never change. It's the way they are. They are. Maybe they will eventually find a woman that will stay with them like that. You know, some men, if you match them fire for fire, they will calm down. They will say, "This one, she's as mad as me, so let me leave her." But if you come across the timid ones, you keep cheating her keep doing things to her until you cannot do it anymore. Okay,
thank you very much for this discussion. We believe a lot of people are watching and they are going to learn a lot from this.
I hope so.
Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, this is where we're going to end it. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, this is the Arena on KAFTAN TV, and we have been looking at the issue of domestic violence and the way forward. We believe you have picked one or two things and you have learned a lot from the discussion. We are going to bring another topic on the program again next week, same station, for another discussion, and we believe you are going to learn. Always stay away from a kind of behavior that will lead to domestic violence. We need to understand one another. We need to do what is right. We need to build our society, build our marriages, build our homes in such a way that some of these issues cannot come up, in such a way that we live in peace, we live as one family instead of fighting one another. Please be the change that you want. Thank you very much. Bye for now. My name is Pius. Don't forget.